this video, we are going to talk about a heart-touching story from the life of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, the story of the Prophet and the blind man. This story teaches us one of the most powerful lessons about humility, equality, and the value of every human being in the sight of Allah. The story takes place in Makkah during the early days of Islam. The Prophet Muhammad was sitting with some of the influential leaders of Quraysh. He was hoping to invite them towards Islam, thinking that if these powerful men accepted the message, many others would follow their example. It was an important moment. The Prophet was deeply focused, patiently explaining the truth about Allah, about faith, and about righteousness. During that moment, a poor blind man named Abdullah ibn Umm Maktum radiyallahu an, approached the gathering. He was one of the early Muslims, a sincere believer who could not see with his eyes but had a heart full of light. He came to the Prophet and asked him to teach him more about Islam. He said, "O Messenger of Allah, guide me, teach me what Allah has revealed." But the Prophet, being deeply engaged with the Quraysh leaders, felt that this was not the right time. He slightly frowned and turned away, hoping to continue his conversation with the chiefs. To the Prophet, it seemed like the best use of time. Guiding those who had great influence could mean spreading Islam faster. However, soon after this incident, Allah revealed verses from Surah Abasa, correcting the beloved Prophet, not out of anger, but as a gentle reminder of the true spirit of Islam. The verses said, "He frowned and turned away, because the blind man came to him. But what could make you know that he might be purified, or be reminded, and the remembrance would benefit him?" Surah Abasa, Sirusun Puet. These verses were a divine message, a reminder that in the sight of Allah, all human beings are equal. Wealth, status, or power do not make one person more valuable than another. What truly matters is the sincerity of the heart and one's closeness to Allah. When these verses were revealed, the Prophet felt deep humility and regret. From that day onward, whenever he saw Abdullah ibn Umm Maktum, he would welcome him with great kindness and honor. The Prophet would say, "Welcome to the man for whom my Lord has rebuked me." He would spread his cloak for Abdullah to sit on and speak to him, with love and respect. This beautiful story reminds us of something profound. Islam does not measure people by what they own or how they look. It measures them by their taqwa, their piety, and their intention. In a world that often values people based on wealth or influence, this lesson from our Prophet stands as a timeless truth. No person is too small to deserve attention, respect, or guidance. The one who comes with sincerity and humility is more honored in the sight of Allah than the one who comes with pride and arrogance. The story of the Prophet Muhammad and the blind man is not just history. It's a mirror for all of us. It asks us to reflect on how we treat others, especially those who may seem powerless or unnoticed. Do we give them the same respect and compassion that our Prophet showed? Or do we, like the people of Quraysh, judge others by worldly standards? If the Messenger of Allah, the greatest of all men, could be corrected by Allah for overlooking a blind man for just a moment, then what about us? This story should soften our hearts and remind us to always look beyond appearances and to value people for their faith, their intentions, and their humanity. And so, the story ends with a message that continues to shine through centuries, that in Islam, every believer, rich or poor, strong or weak, sighted or blind, is precious in the eyes of Allah. The Prophet lived this lesson in every part of his life, teaching us that true greatness lies in humility, and true honor lies in serving others with sincerity. If you were inspired by this story, remember to share it so that others may also reflect on the beautiful character of the Prophet Muhammad. So as viewers, his life was a light for all of humanity. And even in moments of correction, we find lessons of love, equality, and mercy. May Allah bless us with hearts that see as the blind man saw, not with the eyes, but with faith. After this incident, the Prophet Muhammad made sure that Abdullah ibn Umm Maktum radiyallahu an was never made to feel unimportant again. He showed him a special level of kindness and respect that became an example for everyone around him. The Prophet would often include him in important matters and speak to him with gentleness and care. This wasn't out of pity, but out of genuine love and appreciation for his faith and dedication. As time passed, Abdullah ibn Maktum continued to be among the most loyal companions of the Prophet. Despite his blindness, he was never held back from serving Islam. In fact, the Prophet appointed him as muazzin, the one who gives the call to prayer, alongside Bilal ibn Rabah radiyallahu anh. Imagine the honor of being chosen to call people to worship, to invite them to the remembrance of Allah 5 times a day. When the Prophet would leave Medina for a journey or a battle, he often made Abdullah ibn Maktum the caretaker of the city in his absence. This was a huge responsibility. It showed that in Islam, disability does not mean incapability. The Prophet saw the strength of Abdullah's heart, not the weakness of his eyes. He trusted him with leadership and respected his wisdom. One of the most moving moments in his life came during the time of the Caliph Umar ibn al-Khattab, radiyallahu anh. Despite his blindness, Abdullah ibn Maktum insisted on joining the Muslim army in the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah. Many advised him to stay behind because of his condition, but he said with firm faith, "I wish to be among those who fight in the way of Allah, so that I may walk blind in this world but see the reward clearly in the hereafter." He carried the Muslim banner into battle, holding it high with courage and devotion until he was martyred. His story became a symbol of spiritual vision, that the eyes of the heart see what the eyes of the body cannot. Abdullah ibn Maktum could not see the Prophet with his eyes, but he saw him with his soul. He could not see the world's beauty, but he saw the beauty of faith. And through him, Allah reminded the entire Ummah that true greatness does not come from sight, power, or position. It comes from sincerity, from the light of the heart, and from obedience to Allah. The Prophet Muhammad, Kifwan Sana Nonden, taught us through this story that a person's worth is not measured by their physical appearance, their wealth, or their influence. It is measured by what is in their heart. The man who was blind in this world had a heart full of light, while many who had perfect vision were blind to the truth. Every time we hear or recite Surah Abasa, we are reminded of this powerful lesson, a divine message that remains relevant in every age. We live in a world that often looks at people from the outside, but Allah looks at our hearts. He sees our intentions, our patience, and our sincerity. The story of the Prophet Muhammad and the blind man is a lesson in humility, compassion, and justice. It teaches us to never overlook anyone, no matter how small or powerless they seem, because sometimes the one we overlook might be the one most beloved to Allah. So, let us learn from this story to treat every person with respect, to listen to those who seek knowledge, and to never judge anyone by their status or ability. Let us remember that our faith is not only about worship. It is about how we treat others, how we honor them, and how we see them through the eyes of mercy and kindness. May Allah grant us hearts that see the truth, tongues that speak kindness, and actions that reflect the mercy of our beloved Prophet Muhammad. And may we always remember that a moment of frowning can cost a heart, but a moment of compassion can change a life forever.